Hey, how's it going, guys? We got Anson here with his MegaZoo deck. He's already got first place with this twice. So, would you like to walk us through this?
Yeah, sure. So I chose MegaZoo because I felt like it was a good. Well, we finally have the tools to build the deck. What it kind of needed was a set of level 7s, and then it's cheap level 10 or it's cheap level 6 megas that cost 10. So with that, we have enough turn 1 plays to kind of like start the process. So we finally got the tools in BT3 and 1.5 to do that. And I think it's a strong deck. It felt very powerful every time I played it. It's just such high threat density, and even if you try to check against the security, it's most times will break the opposing attacking Digimon. So I felt like it was pretty resilient as an option.
Alright. Would you like to walk us through your ratio?
Yeah, so I wanted to make sure I had enough 10 drop megas, so I have 11. Some lists runs only 8, but I think 11, 12, kind of like your rookie count. They're essentially your rookies, your big rookies. We play some rookies in the form of Vmon, so that we can leverage our breeder zone so we can play our options, which we were playing Kaiser Nail and Kaiser's Breath.
How were these cards during the matches you had?
They are pretty powerful. Some lists run 2 to 4 Kaiser Nails. I felt 2 was appropriate. Against certain matchups like Omni Red or Purple decks, or maybe even some yellow decks, a lot of times you can't get a cheap Megalith stick, and so Kaiser Nail kind of loses value in those scenarios. So I felt 2 was the right number. Kaiser's Breath is kind of like a meta call. There are variants of MegaZoo that you can play like a red base or a purple base, where you can get to play Trump Sword or Gaia Force as well. I felt like the bounce was pretty important with the meta, just because now we might have to fight against Crayomons, stuff that are really hard to break, maybe like other Millenniumons that are pretty sticky. So like I think a bounce kind of upsets the tempo enough where it can still remove it from the board in an effective way.
Okay. And because we're running blue options, safety net right here with the rookies.
Yeah, these rookies they kind of are self-explanatory. With Digievolution from Vmon, Vmon gets pretty much a draw card, and then Gabumon on play is a draw card. So they just allow you to dig a little bit further into your deck where, maybe if your hand was a little bit bad, you can unbrick it.
And for the most part, since you're running a bunch of level 6s.
Yes, the deck runs 24 level 6 and 12 level 7s. So it's about 2/3 and 1/3 ratio. So you have enough targets for your level 7s to evolve onto. There's a possibility of playing like a red variant where you play regular Omnimon, Ultra S, and Ragnalordramon, but I think the black is a little bit stronger and is a little bit stickier. I think maybe the red is a little more aggressive. So there could be a slight variant where you play like, instead of Hyandramon, you might play Phoenixmons, and then instead of Millenniummon, you play regular Omnimons. These might be situational as well. You might flip numbers on Volcanicdramon depending on your meta.
Well, it looks like you have enough targets from Millenniummon and Ragnarlord and also this guy right here, Omnimon Ultra S. How did the level 7s work in your deck?
Yeah, so every time you can get your mega, like your turn 1 mega to stick, a lot of times turn 2 I would follow up with a level 7, and it really upsets the tempo, because a lot of times in the early game they may go deep on one Digievolution line with a small spread of other Digimon. So in that scenario, Omnimon Ultra S is really powerful. If they are struggling, like, you can play Ragna Lordramon to punish them, and then if they have a really deep Digimon, they can kind of go with Millenniummon. So I think these 3 Digimon, or these 3 level 7s, actually kind of fit the scenario for what you need it to be at the time when you're deciding what you want to like deal with.
Yeah, like Millenniumon is kind of like your own Omnimon.
Yes, and it's a little stickier because on deletion it can recur, so it'll come back at least once.
And it can actually bypass deletion reaction abilities.
Yep. So I haven't decided to go heavy red or black. I think I like this show better, but I might experiment with a red variant.
Any matches that were giving you any problems in the past 2 weeks?
The one time I did have trouble was against Blue Omnimon, but it's because I think they had it in their hand. So this deck forces your opponent to have an answer turn 1 or 2, which is the time you have the least amount of cards in your hand and options available to you. So if you don't have the options or the answer in your hand, you might be in trouble.
Was it my Blue Omnion?
Yes, it was.
Oh, okay. So, one of the things I noticed, I feel like this deck baits your opponent to try to use as much memory while they have it, which feels like that's exactly what you want them to do.
Yes, and when you bait them with that memory, a lot of times what happens is they'll deplete their hand, and so, and sure, maybe they check against security, maybe they handle your first mega, but they spent so much resource on that on the first 2 turns, that if they check into your security, it's just all gone, right? And so I think the power of this deck is its ability to punish your opponent early, super early.
Like, the more when I look at your deck, so the easiest ones to get out on a turn 1 play would be, what's his name, Baru?
I don't know how to pronounce it. I think it's called Briary Ludramon.
Briary Ludramon, yeah. Him?
Yeah.
And High Andromon.
Yep, and then you have Durandamon as well, his counterpart.
Yeah, and the reason why I'm looking at these 2 particular cards, the black ones, is because they were cost 10, which gives you easy access already to all 3 avenues of Millenniumon, Ultra S, and Ragnar Lord.
Yep.
Let's see. I remember this deck definitely put me on the spot. I was thinking in my head, wow, I'm so glad I could ramp up. I actually had to play against this differently too, where I had to just hard cast my 4s and 5s.
Yes.
So I don't have to exhaust my hand as much, but put enough where it puts that soft pressure, but not enough where I'm going to make that hard. Let's see. Is there any matches where it felt free? Or how can I say it?
Free. Not necessarily free, because it feels like giving your opponent that much memory could always backfire slightly if they have the right cards in their hand. So no matchups feel free, I would say. I think yeah, I don't think any matchups are free. I think any color could turn it around with the right cards in their deck. Like, green could have Bancho Stingmon, right? You have to worry about that. Red decks have Gaia Forces and opposing Omnimons, right? You have to worry about that. Purple has Trump Swords, right? You play your Digimon active or unsuspended on turn 1, right? So giving them that much memory allows them to react in such a way. So I don't think any color. I don't think there's auto wins for this deck. I think you kind of just force your opponent to have the answer right away instead of later on in the game. That's all.
Man, the biggest investment of all for Ultra S's.
I think I got lucky. I think I got them priced at 110 earlier before they spiked a little bit.
105 a piece for 3, and then you just ripped one in one of your boxes.
Yes. So I feel pretty lucky there.
Yeah. Is there any other last words you want to say?
I only know about MegaZoo because I've been following the Japan meta a little bit, and from what they've claimed, MegaZoo is an archetype that has sees a lot of play down there, and not just this variant, but there's in BT4 you get your Chaos Mons, and you can find there's green and yellow MegaZoo decks. There are blue-red MegaZoo decks. So I think MegaZoo is going to be around. I think people kind of need to be aware of it, and so that's why I brought to this store to kind of bring awareness
And I guess the other question was, how do you feel? Did you ever feel like you had a brick hand?
Actually, no. I never felt like I had a brick hand. I felt like there's enough early plays with your 11, 10 drops and your 8 rookies that you have around 36-40% of your deck that's playable, right? So you'll see 1 or 2 cards in your opener that will allow you to do something. And then past the turn, when you get access to at least 1 memory, then your Volcanodramons and your Magnadramons become alive, right? So I felt like it was fair. I don't feel like I ever bricked.
And of all the cards that we see here, we got the Manatramon, which I'm assuming is just there to replenish yourself.
Yeah, so there are some against certain matchups where they decide to go super aggressive on you. Magnadramon is kind of important to just buffer your security pool, right?
Yeah, well, sounds great. This was actually a deck to not sleep on too. Yeah, you definitely have to respect it. If you're not careful and you're just playing, it really does feel like I'm playing into your strat to capitalize. As I mentioned, you already have like the answers right here just to take care of anything I just bring out on the board if I tower up. And then you actually have widespread solutions with Volcanodramon and again with Ultra S as well. So it's a great deck. I like it a lot. I probably will try to test, play it out myself. Yeah. Well, thank you very much for giving us this, deck profile, and hope to see some other crazy decks you're planning on bringing to the tournament next time.
Yeah, definitely will. Thank you.
All right.